Hi, this is my review for Inception, the newest film from Christopher Nolan. Inception is a science fiction film that stars Leonardo DiCaprio as an a like an extractor. Now, okay, the basic setup for this film is that there are people who have technology to enter your dreams, and when they go into your dreams, they can steal ideas from your subconscious. And then they can sell those ideas to whoever hired them to do the job. So at the beginning of the film, Leonardo DiCaprio's character and his gang of buddies are hired to steal an idea from uh, Ken Watanabe's character, a corporate secret, I guess. They fail, and basically then Ken Watanabe's character hires Leonardo DiCaprio and his gang to not steal an idea from somebody's subconscious, but to plant an idea in somebody's subconscious. And that's Cillian Murphy's character. Okay, so if you follow that so far, that's all I'm going to talk about the plot because this film is so dense and layered, and it's difficult to talk about because it is so complicated. Like I said, it's directed by Christopher Nolan, he's one of the best directors right now working. His films, what he does in his films is he studies the psychology of characters. He wants to get in their minds. He wants to get into their subconscious, which he literally is doing in this film. And he likes to do character studies is what he likes to do. And in this film, we are definitely getting a look at Leonardo DiCaprio's character's mind because he is the main character. He is the emotional center of the film. Although Cillian Murphy's character also has an emotional center, but it's got a twist on it. It's not real emotion. You could argue it's fake emotion. But it's a heist film at heart. It's a heist film, but it's also a character study, psychological thriller, a sci-fi film. It's kind of a little bit of everything. You can't really put a label on it. The film's structure is arguably the most interesting thing about it because there's an hour devoted to the setup of the film, the rules of the dream world, and the last hour and a half is a very, very long, drawn-out action sequence. And inside Cillian Murphy's character's head or mind, which is a risky move to make as a filmmaker because of the nonstop action. Well, it stops occasionally, but it really just is a drawn-out action sequence. But it works because he's able to keep the dialogue going, and he's able to keep the action swift, but you can tell what's going on. And there is that emotional center with Leonardo DiCaprio's character that's a constant throughout the sequence. The visuals alone make this film a must-see, I think. But the story does have a deep emotional resonance and shows how Leonardo DiCaprio's character's journey to reunite with his family and get back to reality. This film, I felt, as I was watching it, I felt something I haven't felt ever in a movie theater. Uh, it's just so powerful with its visuals, with its message, with its acting, with its script, with the dense layers of storytelling that Christopher Nolan's doing here. You think about this film for hours after it's over because there are so many different. There's about 4 or 5 different outcomes, I think, or theories that you could have just on the end of the film alone, not including all the stuff that happens during the film. Because the final shot, Christopher Nolan does something with that, and that kind of that brings up a lot of different theories. But Christopher Nolan does this in every one of his films, where he has an ambiguous, open-ended outcome at the end of the movie. It's not new territory for him. He did this in The Prestige, which was really a great film. And he also did this in Memento, which is also really good. The Dark Knight and Batman Begins, those are pretty, they're not as ambiguous. I mean, there's some discussion with them, but they're pretty straightforward for his films. The Dark Knight was really good. I'm not taking anything away from it, but it's not as complex as this film is. I think Christopher Nolan with this film has solidified himself as one of the best visual directors in Hollywood. And that he wrote this. This is an original script. It's not based off of anything. And he doesn't need source material to tell a good story. The Dark Knight and Batman Begins have source material. They're both really good. Okay, but the Prestige, and so does the Prestige. But this and Memento don't have source material. So he can do both. He can do films that are original and ones that are from material. He clearly had influence from, Dark City, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, Matrix. This film, you get senses of those films as you're watching this movie. But unlike those films, he succeeds in throwing us into a different world. He's not replicating any of those films. This is a different world. He was just influenced by them. And it's definitely not just a carbon copy of any of those films. And this film asks many important questions about life, reality, family, loyalty. The only weakness of the film is because of the extremely long action sequence. There isn't much room for the development of the minor characters, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character. Ellen Page's character gets a little bit more development than the others, but not that much. Or Tom Hardy's character, Michael Caine's character. There's not a lot of room for them to develop some sort of... What's their relationship with Leonardo DiCaprio's character? We don't know that. How did they meet him? How did they get involved in this world of corporate espionage or subconscious espionage, I guess you could call it? But their characters are revealed through their actions most of the time, and in the dream world. But Leonardo DiCaprio's pain and the journey that he goes through this movie is definitely the emotional center of the movie. He has the most development out of any of the characters. Really at the end are emotional, and again, this is one of those movies that is going to go down as one of the best science fiction movies of all time. Is it as good as Blade Runner? Is it as good as 2001: A Space Odyssey or Dark City? I think it's better than The Matrix. There's absolutely no comparison between The Matrix and this. It is much better than The Matrix. The Matrix is really good, but this is a little bit better. I don't know if it's better than 2001: A Space Odyssey yet. I have to have time to watch it. I've only watched this movie twice, because you really do have to watch this movie multiple times to even understand it, especially to figure out what your theories are going to be about the ending, about stuff in the middle of it. Same thing with 2001: A Space Odyssey. I had to watch that movie at least 3 times before I could even start to understand the stuff that was going on in that movie, because it's a very visual movie, just like Inception is. Is it better than Blade Runner? I'm not sure about that one either. Blade Runner, I still don't 100% understand to this day. I don't think I ever will understand that movie completely. But this Inception, it's definitely more... I can understand it better than Blade Runner. Does that mean it's better or worse? I don't know. A movie's complexity, I don't know if that determines the quality of the film. I just know that with Christopher Nolan, you're never going to get a run-of-the-mill, action film or whatever, superhero film, whatever he's doing. It's going to be, you can tell it's a Christopher Nolan film. He puts the characters first. He puts the script first and the visuals first. Puts all of that before the action. That's what makes him a good director and a successful director in blockbusters, because most of his films have been blockbusters. But Inception doesn't feel like that. I mean, it is more emotional and more character driven, I think, than the average summer movie, of course. But in terms of ranking Christopher Nolan's films, I'm not sure where Inception's going to be. For me, Prestige is still number 1. The Prestige, I think that is just an amazing film. The narrative of that film is unbelievable. And then Dark Knight, then Memento, then Batman Begins, and then Insomnia. That was his one misstep. It was still a really good movie, but it just wasn't as good as his others. Now, Inception, where would I put that? Where would I rank that? Probably I would rank it after Prestige, but before The Dark Knight. So I think I would go Prestige, Inception, Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Insomnia. That might change over time, but Christopher Nolan has proven himself with this film, and I definitely recommend this. I'd give this 4 stars out of 4 easily. It is worth the price of an admission. Go see it twice. Go see it 3 times because it is worth it, and it's gonna go down. Like I said before, it's gonna go down as one of the best science fiction movies of all time. I hope they don't make a sequel to this film because it doesn't need a sequel. It honestly doesn't. If they did, it would just be for money. And now Christopher Nolan's going to have Batman 3 coming up next. That's going to be tough, though, because he's going to have to now try to top The Dark Knight, which you can't really do. That film is the best superhero film of all time. It's going to be... I mean, if anybody's going to top it, he's going to, but I don't know how you're going to be able to... I don't know what he'll do with that film, honestly. He's not going to go bigger. You can't go bigger. It wouldn't work. So you have to... it really just depends on the script and how good it is and how it's going to be ranked. It's always going to be measured up to The Dark Knight. Every one of his films is going to be measured up to The Dark Knight. Unfortunately, that's just how it's going to be because that's the second most successful film of all time. Well, no, third, I guess. But in terms of box office. Well, so thank you for listening to this review. I know I got a little off track, but I like to talk about Christopher Nolan. Thanks for listening.